I used to think being wanted felt like heat, like pressure, like someone reaching for you because they couldn't help it. Turns out I was wrong as fuck. What she did didn't feel like heat at all. It felt like standing too close to something sharp and convincing yourself you weren't bleeding because you couldn't feel the pain yet. She never grabbed me, never pinned me down, never crossed any line you could circle in red and point at later. That's the part that still fucks with my head. Everything she did was optional. Every step I took toward her, I took on my own legs, with my own mouth open, saying yes before she even asked. She made sex feel like a promise instead of an act. Like something I was earning. Like if I behaved right, stayed patient, didn't push, didn't flinch, didn't look too needy or too hungry or too fucking human, she'd finally let me have what we were already talking about in graphic, filthy detail at 2 a.m. And I believed her. I believed the way she laughed when I said something dirty meant intimacy. I believed the way she shared personal shit meant trust. I believed that the constant almost, the constant tease, delay, withdrawal, was chemistry instead of control. By the time I realized she wasn't edging me toward closeness, but carving me down to size, I was already bleeding. Quietly, invisibly. And she was standing there spotless, watching me try to explain wounds nobody else could see. She learned me fast. That's the first thing I didn't want to admit. She clocked what I wanted before I ever said it out loud. Not sex, connection, validation. That feeling of being chosen instead of tolerated. She spotted it like a weak joint and pressed her thumb right into it, slow and patient, like she had all the fucking time in the world. At first, it felt flattering, dangerous in a good way. She talked to me like we were already a thing. Inside jokes, late-night calls, that low, intimate tone people use when they want you to feel special without actually saying the word. She asked questions that sounded deep and caring, but somehow always circled back to how I saw her, how much I thought about her, how different she felt from other women. I hated myself for how fast I swallowed that bait. Every time I tried to define us, she slid away. Not hard, not obvious, just enough. She'd smile, laugh, say I was rushing, say I was intense in a way she liked, but didn't want to ruin. That word, ruin, became a leash. I didn't want to be the guy who fucked it up, so I stayed quiet. I stayed agreeable. I stayed right where she wanted me. She fed me crumbs and called it intimacy. A flirty message here, a dirty joke there, a confession that sounded vulnerable until you realized it didn't cost her anything. Meanwhile, I was bleeding information, insecurities, fantasies, old wounds. I handed her a fucking map to my softest parts and thanked her for listening. The humiliation crept in slow. She'd cancel plans last minute, then stay on the phone with me for hours like that was compensation. She'd talk about other men just enough to keep me insecure, then reassure me I was different, better, safer. One of the good ones. I wore that label like armor, not realizing it was a cage. And yeah, I got off on it. On being chosen in secret. On being the guy she trusted with her late-night thoughts and half-formed desires. It felt powerful, like I was winning something invisible, like patience was strength instead of submission. I told myself I wasn't being played, I was being tested. What I didn't see was how much of myself I was shaving down to stay acceptable. How often I swallowed anger, jealousy, confusion, and called it maturity. How much I let her rewrite my reactions until my instincts felt embarrassing. Every time I almost pushed back, she'd soften her voice, say my name, and I'd fold like a cheap fucking chair. By the time I noticed how small I'd made myself, it felt normal, comfortable even. That's the sickest part. I didn't feel abused. I felt lucky, and she let me feel that way because it kept me quiet, compliant, and desperate to earn the next hit of attention she decided I deserved. She never fucked me. Not really, and somehow that was the whole point. She talked about sex like it was already happening, described things in detail, let conversations drift just far enough into filth that my body reacted before my brain could catch up. Then she'd pull back, change the subject, laugh, Say she liked teasing me. Say it was cute how worked up I got. Cute. That word should have warned me, but I let it turn me on instead. Desire became currency. She'd reward me when I behaved, when I supported her, defended her, took her side without asking too many questions. A suggestive message, a late-night call where her voice dropped and my pulse spiked. Enough to keep me reckless, never enough to make me secure. I was always chasing the next almost. When I asked her why we never crossed that final line, she framed it like restraint was intimacy. Like waiting made it meaningful. Like wanting her was proof of connection instead of proof of leverage. And I bought it, because admitting the truth would have meant admitting I was being controlled by my own fucking hunger. The humiliation sharpened when she started using my desire against me openly. If I pushed, she accused me of only wanting sex. If I backed off, she'd accuse me of losing interest. There was no right move, just constant adjustment, constant self-policing, constant fear of saying the wrong thing and watching her withdraw. I said, shit I'm still ashamed of. Crude jokes. Confessions that should have stayed private. Moments of weakness I thought were safe because she invited them. She never stopped me, she encouraged it. Let me dig deeper, expose more, cross lines she'd later pretend I crossed alone. And the fucked up part? I felt powerful too. Chosen, special, like I had access to something other people didn't. That illusion kept me compliant, kept me defending her when friends questioned the dynamic, kept me quiet when my gut twisted itself into knots. When things escalated, when someone else got hurt by the mess she was creating, she framed it as us versus the world. Said people were jealous, said they misunderstood her, said we were surviving something together. That word again, together. It made me complicit before I realized what I was agreeing to. I took heat for shit I didn't do, covered for lies I didn't tell. Let my reputation take hits because she made loyalty sound sexy and silence sound noble. Every time I hesitated, she reminded me how close we were, how rare this kind of connection was, how easily it could disappear if I made her feel unsafe. I was aroused. I was terrified. I was proud. I was fucking trapped. And the whole time, she stayed clean, hands off, plausibly innocent, letting me ruin myself with my own desire while she watched, calm as ever. The collapse didn't come with shouting or drama. It came with screenshots. Messages I'd forgotten I sent. Jokes stripped of tone. Confessions ripped out of context. Every moment of desperation laid out like evidence in a trial I didn't know I was on. She didn't have to lie. She just had to curate. And she did it beautifully. When everything surfaced, she stepped back. Let people draw their own conclusions. Let me look volatile, obsessed, dangerous. She stayed composed, reasonable, concerned. The contrast did the damage. I tried to explain, but explanations sound like excuses when you're already bleeding. That's when I saw it clearly. Not because she admitted anything, but because she didn't have to. The pattern snapped into focus all at once. The withholding, the rewards, the way she let me incriminate myself while she collected receipts. I wasn't exposed because I was evil. I was exposed because I trusted the wrong fucking person with my desire. When she was finally confronted, truly confronted, she didn't rage or panic. She shrugged, said she never promised me anything, said I misread the situation, said my feelings weren't her responsibility. And the worst part? She was right. Legally, socially, technically. That's how clean she played it. People asked if I felt vindicated when the truth came out. If it helped knowing she'd manipulated others the same way. It didn't. All it did was confirm what I already knew. I wasn't special. I was useful. I didn't lose her. I lost myself, my confidence, my voice, my ability to trust my own reactions. Even now, I second-guess desire. I flinch at intimacy. I hear her voice every time I hesitate, asking if I'm projecting, if I'm rushing, if I'm ruining things again. She was exposed. Yes, publicly, quietly, clinically. But exposure doesn't rewind damage, it just names it. And knowing what she did doesn't stitch me back together. It just leaves me standing in the wreckage, finally understanding that the knife was never in her hand. It was in mine, and I kept handing it back to her over and over until there was nothing left to cut but bone.